Thank you.
My question's for Luke and possibly Ryan. I don't know if he wants to answer as well. Were you disappointed when you went for an audition for The Hobbit and you had to play humans other than a wizard or a little person or a dwarf?
Well, I knew what I was going up for, so there was no missing. I knew exactly I wasn't going to be up for a Hobbit or anybody else. I was up for one of the only humans. There's not many of us written in the book, so I felt quite lucky in a way, especially when I saw the amount of hours they had to spend in the makeup chair every morning. I felt just saving grace.
Yeah, not having to have the prosthetics is definitely an upside of not being a cool elf or something. But
Would have liked a pointy hat, though. I would have liked a pointy hat.
But Ryan, you auditioned for a Hobbit.
I was originally cast
we
as
originally
Drogo Baggins.
auditioned
That's
you.
true.
No,
I was
no,
a Hobbit
you
originally.
Actually,
You
you
were a
also
minor Hobbit.
auditioned for a dwarf.
I did, yeah.
He did. He auditioned. He was desperate. He auditioned for him again.
Anyone he didn't audition for?
I did.
He tried to audition for an elf
I did
too.
several
right?
auditions. Ian doesn't know I was Gandalf for a while.
He actually, it was wonderful. Ryan came in. We'd seen his audition on tape. He'd made us laugh so hard, and he came in and he brought us coffee, and then he said, "I'm going to test you on your Tolkien knowledge." And we were like, "What is this boy doing? He's insane!" And he gave us a test, but he was very funny, and so when Drogo.
I was Drogo
hit,
originally.
yeah, you were Drogo Baggins.
I still have my
hit
Drogo
the
chin.
cutting room floor, so to speak. hit the script cutting room floor, I should say. We loved him so much that we just had to keep writing for you.
Oh. Brilliant. And gentleman with the red microphone there.
Yes, Bruce Kirkland from the Toronto Sun Media in Canada.
You!
And a question for Sir Peter, and Sir Ian. Oh, wait a minute. Mr. Jackson and Sir Ian. No, I know.
No, according to our name things, we're not.
He's teasing us now, so.
Question?
So I can remember sitting at Cannes many years ago and asking Mr. Jackson if he was afraid of screwing all of this up. And now, all these years later, we see that there's 6 films, and now I can't imagine The Lord of the Rings without the Hobbit trilogy as well. It's a package deal. It got through all of the machinations of legal problems, and now we have 6 films. So I would love to hear from 2 of the gentlemen who have been part of this, you from the beginning and Sir Ian from the time that you first stepped on set, how you see the entire legacy of these films, not separately but together. So, Mr. McKellan, do you have thoughts on that?
Well, I would have to repeat myself and say that Peter has made a series of classic films. It's not a franchise. It's a series of stories that all link together. I'd just like to say something else because it seems to be underneath so many of the questions. What is it like to be in Middle-earth? And it's an understandable question because I felt it last night. Oh, I'd love to be there. And then I said, oh, hang about, I was there. But actually I wasn't there. It was the characters that were there. And Middle-earth actually is in our hearts. But it is up there on the screen. And aren't we lucky to have been more than anybody else, I think, more than the director who's looking at it through there or on his video screen. We are actually there. It is snow falling on our boots. It's grass under our feet and the wind blowing in our faces. And we're
And the occasional green screen.
Well, there's much less green screen, it seems to me, than people might suspect. We are actually there. And of course, everybody else wants to be there too, and that's why they ask questions. What was it like to be there? And of course, the next development, I hope, is that Peter's going to devise not more films, but a situation that you can all go to that is as much theatrical as cinematic, a living museum where you will actually have the experience, as you sometimes do in the greatest exhibitions of that sort in Hollywood. Go into that and be there.
But I can have a little break first, though, can I? Can I have a holiday first?
Hello.
But I mean, I think you almost answered your own question in a way, because it's like, look, fate steers weird things. I mean, the very first phone call we made about these projects, which was 17 years ago, everyone talks about 17 years, and it was 17 years for a friend and I called Harvey Weinstein, who we had a first look deal with, and the pitch to Harvey was, if you can get us the rights to these books, we'd like to make The Hobbit as one film, and if it's successful, then we'd like to do The Lord of the Rings as 2 movies back to back and release them 6 months apart. That was the big grand plan, and now 17 years later, it's sort of become 6 movies, where we did the wrong way around. We did The Lord of the Rings first, then The Hobbit was going to be 2 movies, and it was 3. It's all very weird, unpredictable, and it doesn't seem to be anything in control. It's just circumstances and fate push you around. But the one thing that I think I'm very proud of, and I say I think because I haven't actually seen them all together at all, but I think that when people do see the 6 films as a series in the right order, that they'll sort of sense that there was some vague design behind it all, as sort of chaotic as it kind of actually was, in the sense of the orders all being changed around. That I hope that, because all the time during, and The Hobbit was obviously the thing that was because those are the 3 that had to tie in with the earlier 3 is. All the time I was thinking that this is going to be a series of films.
And that was expressed to us as well. I think one of the things when I sat down we were talking about Legolas coming in, it was a concern as to, whether or not the fans, how they would feel about bringing characters in like Tauriel and Legolas, who aren't in the books necessarily, but it was made very clear to me by Pete and by Fran that they wanted to explore the backstory to these characters and then tie them in to see those characters move through and make them a connection point for the Lord of the Rings, and that was something in this movie that I think was made very clear and worked really well.
Okay, we've got time for one more question. I think someone's already got a microphone just there. Sorry.
Hello? It's for Peter. Hello. I was wondering, with perhaps the rather overt allegorical import of this instalment in particular, with regards to the unfolding international political picture, is it hard for that not to imbue or inform perhaps the editing? I.e., is it hard to shut the real world out and deal with themes like this?
That's quite a serious question. Well, you're adapting very wonderful books that were written a long time ago, and obviously, the thing with current politics and applying them to anything like a movie or a book is that I think it's a test of the timelessness of the book. That if you think of The Hobbit, 1937, World War II hadn't occurred yet, and so you go through that. Vietnam hadn't occurred. I mean, and obviously the Lord of the Rings took off in the States in the 60s because of the Vietnam War. That somehow the Americans at that time embraced that book, which was published in the 50s. Those 3 books, they embraced that because it spoke to them about the Vietnam War. So I think the actual test of people describe things as having a timeless quality, which I think is used in a very loose way a lot of times. But I think the real test of the timelessness of a story is exactly that you can look at the world that you are in at that given time and find things in the story that was written a long time ago that still is true. Which means that it's got very basic human truths in it. And we are humans, and we always have been for hundreds and thousands of years, and that is embedded in these stories. It's at the heart of them. So.
Before I let you go, Sir Ian, you talked about going to Middle-earth, and I guess the closest that you guys all had to a physical thing of that was New Zealand, and New Zealand being a huge character and part of this whole experience. The time that you spent there, the work that you've done there. If I can just come down the line from Billy at the end all the way down and ask you all to think of a word for you that sums up that experience of time that you spent in that part, in the kind of, I guess, the real Middle-earth. Billy, do you want to start?
Yeah, I will. I'll start with magical.
Ryan?
Sorry.
It was awesome in the sort of visual sense. Everything
It's
was
more than one word. You don't do one word.
awesome is one word.
Awesome's good.
Awesome.
Luke?
Memorable.
Well, I live there. I'm lucky enough to live there, so I'm gonna
You
put
could still give us a word.
about New Zealand.
Yeah.
New Zealand. I'm going to say, as the Kiwis would say, it's magic. It's magic.
Sir Ian?
And they also say God's own.
Yes.
Martin?
Fantastic.
Home.
Yeah.
Pinot Noir.
That's true.
Evangeline?
I'm hijacking my answer for a minute. There are two journalists in the crowd that are freaking me out as a fan of the Lord of the Rings movies. We have Frodo in the second row right here. Do you see that guy? Is he not so much like Elijah Wood? And Mary in the back row. Stand up. The guy with the spiky hair. That's like Dominic Monaghan's doppelganger right there. Sorry, Oasis.
Family?
Inspiring.
Progressive.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry we couldn't get through all your questions, and a huge round of applause for our incredible cast and crew from The Hobbit, the Battle of the Five Armies. Thank you, everyone.
Thorin, you gave a promise. You brought upon them only ruin and death. You've won the mountain, is that not enough? Now, we defend it.
I came to reclaim something of mine.
This was the last move in a master plan. A plan long in the making.
These bats are bred for one purpose. For war.
Leave Sauron to me.
Bilbo is right. You cannot see what you have become. Everything I did for them.
You started this. You will forgive me if I finish it.
When faced with death, what can anyone do?
I will not hide while others fight our battles for us!
You have but one question to answer. How shall this day end?